Welcome to Legally Ponzaneli, a podcast dedicated to the real stories behind the legal profession. I'm your host, Stephanie Ponzaneli, a law graduate from the University of Arkansas School of Law. Each week, we will hear from law graduates who share candid conversations, practical advice, and real experiences that show you just how different everyone's journey into the legal profession can be. This episode is sponsored by Belmonte, a skincare and lifestyle brand centered around the reminder to slow down, stay grounded, and be present in the moments that matter most. We also want to thank Kaplan Bar Prep for giving us the opportunity to give away 3 free bar prep courses. If you or someone you know is planning to use Kaplan as their bar prep course, make sure to use our code PASSWITHPONZ to save an additional $100 off your course. A special thank you as well to Las Comadres Mail Club for sponsoring this month's guest gifts. Las Comadres Mail Club is a monthly Happy Mail subscription that celebrates Latina pop culture, nostalgia, and creativity. Every envelope feels like an extra cartita from your favorite comadre, filled with stickers, art, and thoughtful surprises. All right, let's dive right in. All right, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Maggie Maddox.
And Maggie, where did you go to undergrad and what was your major?
For undergrad, I went to Louisiana State University of Alexandria, and I majored in criminal justice, which is what I got my bachelor's degree in.
Oh, awesome. And did you always know you wanted to go to law school?
Yeah, so my story is just a little different from, I guess, the average. I'm fully adopted, and so at a very young age, I obviously was told about my adoption. Both of my parents are white, and I am of Arab descent. My biological father is Palestinian. So I had to go through the foster care system, go through the court system with my adoption, with foster care, terminating parental rights. And so my courtroom experience began very early on in my life. And after we dealt with so many complications, and the result obviously ended up being happy for me, I knew at that point that I wanted to make changes within the adoption and foster care system. So that's what led me to go into law. And that's how I chose my major in college, was basically what was going to get me the most amount of experience for courtroom and law that wasn't just like a random major that I didn't enjoy. So that's how I kind of ended up doing criminal justice. And then I went straight through to law school.
How old were you when you were adopted?
So my adoption was finalized when I was 4. And I spent 2 years, like 2 actual years in foster care, but the first 4 years of my life were very tenuous, is a word I guess you could use. They weren't great. They were very bad, but my adoptive parents had me on and off during the 4 years of my life, but didn't become official foster parents until I was 2. And that just kind of, there's a lot to unpack there, but yeah.
Okay, so they were trying actively to adopt you for that long.
So my adoption story basically is very complex. There were originally 4 of us. Only 2 of us had the same biological mother and father. And I was the youngest. I was the baby. So essentially, both of my biological parents were drug addicts, and I spent a lot of time with my biological mother's grandmother, so my great-grandmother. And she was very old at the time, and she kind of just took care of the kids as best as she could when my bio mom would go out on benders. My biological dad was never really involved, but our biological uncle kind of, according to my adoptive parents, my mom and dad, they said he kind of like helped out like buying things and like providing in a way as much as he could. But when it got really long benders, my grandmother couldn't take care of us. And since I was the youngest and she was old, she really couldn't take care of a infant. And oddly enough, she was best friends at the time with my mom's mother. So my and that's really hard because I'm talking about biological and adoptive parents.
Yeah.
But when I say
Yeah.
my mom and dad, I mean my adoptive mom and dad. But
Yeah.
my mom's mom and my biological great-grandmother were friends. And crazily enough, they also met in foster care when they were younger.
Are you
It's
serious?
it's such a crazy, like, coincidence, but
Invisible
yes.
string. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how they met and they became friends. And so my mom has always been a part of my life. Like, she knew my biological mother, she knew my biological great-grandmother. So it kinda just so happened that my mom was there and my mom took care of and raised a bunch of kids that weren't even her own, like, in her family. She was just always the one that the kids came to her house, and my mom and dad were always there. And so one day out of the blue, she just asked my great-grandmother asked my mom and was like, "Can you take Maggie?" And, at the time, that was not my name, but she was like, "Can you take Maggie and, you know, handle her for the time being? Because I just can't." And so then my mom did, and I was very afraid of people because of the situations I had been in, and I only went to my mom. I was extremely fearful of men. I did not like strangers. Um, it was a very rough time.
Yeah.
However, um, they ended up kind of just being a part of my life for the first, like, 4 years, and then until my great-grandmother died when I was 2, it didn't become, like, a necessary thing for them to take foster care into consideration because they just never had to actually deal with, like, the legalities of it.
Mhm.
Um, but they were never foster parents. So they crazily, like, the story is just so crazy and so profound, but it didn't come to a head until after my great-grandmother passed away, and they didn't know where I was. Like, by they, I mean social services. They had no idea where I was at. And my siblings, my sister at the time was, like, 8,
Mhm.
10, something around that age, and she basically told them, like, "Oh, she's at Miss Shelley's house. She's over there a lot. This is her name, whatever." And so they showed up at our door, and unfortunately, it was all men. And I grew up in the middle of the woods, so they show up at my parents' house, and my parents are like, "Who the heck is here?"
Yeah.
And they knock on the door, and they're like, "Hey, we're looking for Nadia. Is she here? Da 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 da." And they were like, "Yeah, she's here. You know, like, what do you need?"
Who's asking? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they were like, "Yeah, well, we have to take her with us because she's now part of the state. Like, um, she can't stay here, whatever, whatever." You know, I wish I could have been a fly on the wall when I, like, go back in time just to see this moment play out because the story that my mom and dad just tell is, like, they went full parental mama, dad, bear mode and were like, "She is not leaving with you. Like, it's not gonna happen."
Yeah.
And the poor guy was like, "Well, she has to come with us. Like, she can't stay here. You're not licensed to be foster parents. You haven't been given custody." And my mom kind of, like, cussed him out and was like,
Oh,
"One,
no.
even if I wanted to let her go with you, she's not going to let you touch her. She's not going to go near you. 2, this is my baby. Like, you're not taking her away. It's just no. Like, either you let us keep her and we'll come with you and we can figure something out,
Mhm.
or something else is gonna happen that nobody's gonna like." And
Oh,
so,
no.
needless to say, I don't know how that convinced them. You know, maybe the threatening convinced them, but,
Yeah.
they were able to, like, go and get their foster care license. They had someone come out and do the house, like, look and everything, and they were granted that, and then for 2 years, we fought for terminating parental rights in court, and then
With
the
your
outcome.
biological mom? Like, did you
Yeah.
guys have to argue? So, let me ask a few questions. I'll keep because this is
Okay.
so that's so wild. Um, First, I wanna say that's great how they were able to convince the state not to just take you anyways, you know? Because I feel like in today's world, I'd be like, I don't know. I don't know if it would be worse now or than it was then. Because I could see how they're like, wait, but you kidnapped this kid, like, but we all know
Yeah,
that you weren't, but like, I could see how they're
right.
like, wait a second. Um, so
I
that's,
still to this day have no idea how that, like, was even a thing that could happen, but
yeah,
all
but
I
it
can say
did.
is, like, truly, like, before we get into even more details about it,
Mhm.
all I can say is God was really within my family unit and trying to, like, he had a plan from day one, which, I mean, obviously he did, but it's just so miraculous to see the situation play out and be where I am now to be like, "Holy crap." Like,
Yeah.
did you, like, you knew all of this beforehand? And, like, we're over here just going, What in the world?" Like, never in a million years would you think that the situation that I came from would be where I am now at all. I don't
Mhm.
know. It's wild.
That is wild. And it's especially wild, I feel like, since you went to law school, all the, like, you're a licensed attorney, and looking at it from that lens as well, kind of being
Oh,
like,
yeah.
wait, how did you get away with that? That's awesome. So you're having to fight custody battle. And is it your biological mother trying to keep you, or like trying to have custody, or are you fighting the state for the custody to terminate with your mom?
Yeah, we're fighting the state, because she was, at the time there was 4 of us, and so, I won't, like, say everybody's names, but, there was my sister, then
Yeah.
there was the older brother, and me and him are the 2 that share the same biological parentage, and then there was a 3rd one, and then there was me. So, the youngest boy was 2 years older than me, then it was 4 years, and then it was 6 years. So, they were pretty, like, close together, but the sister and the 2nd boy, we at the time, we didn't really have to worry about their parentage because the oldest, the girl, we didn't no one still to this day, we have no idea who her father is biologically, but, the last 3 of us, for some reason, they looped in the boy between us to say that his dad was our dad was his dad. Don't really know how they got that because he's black and white mixed, and we're not black and white. So, like, it just I
Yeah.
think they just wanted to put a name on the birth certificate, and then it just kind of, like, came about, but he ended up finding his parentage later. But no, our biological dad just gave up parental rights.
Mhm.
I can't really speak because I was so young. Everything I know is from my documents and also from my parents who were there, but, it's sad because there's so much to unpack emotionally that we just don't know what happened because, I mean, we were all young and half the time
Yeah.
we were left alone in a house. Like, there's one instance where I don't think I was there, but they were left in a house, an abandoned house with no electricity or and, you know, they also had an issue where there was a drug deal that went wrong and the house got shot up with them in it. Like, there was so many situations that we do know about, but there's a lot that we don't know about.
Yeah.
And because my biological father is Palestinian and he comes from a family that was very, religious, um, they did not condone the fact that he had fathered 2 children out of wedlock, and they did not like the fact that she was not Muslim, which
Mhm.
was, like, something that I had a whole identity crisis going up, but that caused a lot of problems, and his family did not want to take us, so he just gave up parental rights. However, my biological mother, she never just, like, I guess she never gave up her parental rights because we were fighting against that. They kept trying to give her chances to get a house and to get a job, and they were like, "If you just get a house and you get a job, we can give you your kids back."
Yeah.
And she was like, "I don't care about the kids. Like, I don't want them. I don't wanna
Yeah.
get a house. I don't wanna get a job. When you let me out, I'm gonna go get more drugs." Like, she was an addict through and through, and I mean, she still is to this day, at least what I do know of her. But, yeah, so we fought for 2 years because the judge we had one judge at first, and it was a woman. Can't tell you the name of the judge because my parents don't remember. However, she just pushed for reunification every time we went. And it got to a point where a new judge had to be brought in to handle our case. And that was Judge McTwire. And finally, like, he came in and was like, "What in the hell is taking so long on this case? Like, why has it been 2 years and
Yeah.
they're still in foster care? Like, I'm confused." And obviously there's petitions for adoption here.
Mhm.
So what's going on? And my mom stood up in court and was like, "Yeah, we were wondering the same thing. Like, when are you gonna let us adopt her?" Like, it's
Yeah.
getting ridiculous at this point. And one thing about Michelle Maddox is she's blunt, she is loud, what she wants, she's going after, which I kinda take after her in a way. But,
Yeah.
the judge was like, "Okay, like, I'm done hearing this. Like, I'm signing the documents today. They're up for adoption. Here you go." And that was October 19th of 2005, and
Wow.
that's when everything kinda just happened. The crazy funny thing is that my oldest 2 siblings got adopted by my dad's sister, so we ended up staying in the family.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
so
so
cool. Yeah.
it was with them, just as, like, I guess you could we're siblings, but, if, like, we weren't really siblings, that we would be cousins.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was very, very crazy, but, like, kinda cool in a way.
Yeah.
And then the other brother, he ended up, they found out his parentage, and, he ended up being adopted or going with his biological grandmother. So, yeah.
Wow. It's interesting that you weren't even having a problem with the mom. She was willing to just be like, "No, I'm not interested," and you're having a problem with a judge in the state wanting to force something that they didn't want that for that long. That's wild.
Yeah.
And
And I think that's just what
yeah.
made our, like, family so fed up, was just, like,
Yeah.
no one was saying that, we don't want her to be, you know, we don't like, no one said, "Hey, we don't think she could ever be a good parent," or, like, "We
Uh-huh.
don't want her to get clean." It was, "She's choosing not to get clean. It's been 2 years. She's had multiple babies with multiple men who were also drug addicts, who have also had their rights. Either they gave them up or they've had them terminated. Like, it's not getting any better, and y'all are putting these kids through more and more foster homes." Luckily, I was with my parents now, but
Uh-huh.
unfortunately for my other siblings, like, they were in other foster care, homes and group homes, and that puts a lot on a child, especially when they've already gone through so much. And,
Yeah.
in a way, fortunately for me, I say in a way because I think so many people don't realize how trauma affects a person, and
Mhm.
especially a child. They were older than me, so, they remember things, whereas I can't remember them, but
Uh-huh.
their subconscious remembers it. And so that's been something I've had to deal with as I got older, that things that I've noticed I do, or things that I feel that, I would have never thought were, I guess you could say trauma responses.
Yeah.
But it's definitely been something that my parents were like, "We had to work a lot with you as a kid because you would scream and, like, go bloody murder if we put you in a bed by yourself. Like, we couldn't keep the lights off. You had to have the lights on. You had to be with somebody. You wouldn't go with your dad. You wouldn't go with your brothers." Like, it took a few, like, weeks and months to get comfortable with them, and then after that, it was like I didn't really go to anyone else.
Mhm.
Um, and then, for my brother, who, I'm still super close with, um, he had his own stuff. Like, he's older and he, like, remembers stuff, and he has tried to build the relationship back with both of our biological parents as he got older. And that obviously didn't go very well on one end, and on the other end, she's still a drug addict. So, you
Yeah.
know, but yeah, it's been a journey for sure.
Yeah. I could see how that would lead you to be like, you know what? I want to go into law because this is
Well,
ridiculous. Like the judge
and
said,
so,
like, why is this taking so
and
long?
yeah, and like we didn't have, so what I didn't know until law school was we don't have attorneys who are like guardian ad litems in Louisiana, whereas like
Really?
Mississippi, right?
We
Yeah,
have
we don't
them.
have.
Yeah.
So we have social workers and we have CASA workers, and then you have an attorney who will like just do the adoption for you. But that's it. Like, you don't have someone really advocating for you except for the social worker. And so when I went to law school, I did the adoption clinic. We had an adoption clinic, and I
Hmm.
was so extremely passionate about it. I did 11 adoptions. It was
Oh,
amazing. Like, I had the best time. Um, but I realized, like, hey, no one really was advocating for us. Whereas, like, here you have guardian ad litems. We had the guardian ad litem clinic, and there was, like, a whole separate process. And it just took me back to what my mom complained about the most was that CASA workers, at least in Louisiana, are volunteer workers. They're not paid. They don't have to have any, like, background knowledge of any type of situation. Unfortunately, my CASA worker was just there for gossip, and she was just telling everybody's business, and she did not do her job. Like, she did not care to advocate or do anything. And my mom and dad had a lot of problems with her specifically. And she basically would lie and say that my mom never like talked to her or told her any of the issues that were happening. Thank God my mom knew she needed things to be in writing, so she kept a calendar and she would document everything.
hmm.
Um, but
She was on top
me
of it.
she was like, and like to see her today, I'm like, you went really hard, and that's something that I hope to like emulate as a
Hmm.
person, like as an attorney, as a human being. Like, I hope someone can say like Maggie Maddox advocated so hard for me that she didn't even know me from Adam. Like, and she was there. That I don't know. I have so many traits from my parents that I think
Hmm.
I adore them so much. Obviously, we all have our flaws and we have flaws in our relationships, but
Yeah.
like they really went hard to, get the adoption finalized. And the social worker I had, we loved him. He was great. Um, but he was the only one there to like say anything like on our behalf. And, they could only do so much. So it really just showed me the negative side effects of the law and like the
Hmm.
system. And, being the one that had to go through it in a way, it just was like, okay, if it was this bad then, and I already have, like, met people who have gone through the system as well or who have tried to be foster parents now that I'm older, they're like, "It's not really gotten any better. If anything, it's gotten worse." And so that was what led me to decide, like, "Hey, I don't know what I'm gonna do, how I'm gonna do it, but this is where I'm supposed to be, and somehow, some way, I'm gonna make it happen."
Yeah.
So, and I did, but definitely could never have anticipated the way my life was gonna go at all.
Yeah. Well, I want to touch on attorney ad litem, just in case any of the listeners don't know what that is. So do you want to kind of let them know, or do you want me to let them know? I'm fine either way.
I mean, I didn't do the guardian ad litem clinic. However, like, basically what I know from the Mississippi version is they're the one that really advocates for the child and for the parents that are trying to get custody of a child.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's exactly the correct
Yeah.
way that works. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. I know in Arkansas, because I know everything's different a little bit and everywhere. So let's say there's a family getting a divorce. The mom and the dad will each have an attorney, and then the child will have an attorney ad litem. So like everyone has someone representing them. And the attorney ad litem is trying to make sure that the child's best interest is met, That's how they have them here, which I never even thought about how some states probably don't have that. I don't know. I guess since it was a norm here, I just
Yeah.
assumed they all did. But also Louisiana is so different. Like your bar is different, everything's different. So, um,
Yeah.
and where did you go to law school? I don't know if I got a chance to ask you that yet.
No, because I just went on a tangent. I'm
No, no,
sorry.
no, no. That was great. No, yeah.
I went to Mississippi College School of Law in Jackson, Mississippi, which is like a small private Christian law school.
Okay. And what was it like over there? What made you pick that school?
Let's just say this before we even go into other questions where you're like, what made you pick this? And what made you do this? God. And that's all I can say. Every single plan that I had, every place I wanted to go, or everything that I had wanted to do, at least from the time like going to college, every place I didn't want to go is where I ended up.
Really?
I don't want to go to LSUA. I had originally had plans to go to ULL, which is in Lafayette, University of Louisiana at Lafayette. And God just really laughed at all my plans. And he just said, I love that for you, but that's not going to happen. Let's reroute. And so when I was applying to law schools, my number one was LSU.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, LSU is where I'm going. Point blank, period. I'm getting in. I'm going to do the thing. It's going to be great. It's Baton Rouge. It's LSU. Like, who would not want to go to LSU? And since LSUA was a sister school, it was like, okay, cool. That's perfect. Well, God had other plans. I applied to LSU. I applied to Loyola. I applied to Southern. I applied to Tulane, MC, Arkansas. I think I applied to Bowen, which is the Little Rock version, the one in Little Rock.
Yeah.
Um,
That's funny.
and I had also applied to a college in whatever the law school is in Savannah, Georgia. Random. And Tennessee. I applied to Tennessee. I really wanted, if I didn't go to LSU, I really wanted to go to Vanderbilt,
Mm-hmm.
which was such a big dream because girl's been broke all her life. I was not going to be able to go to Vanderbilt. Okay. Um, and I did not have the LSAT score for that. So that was just like out of range. But I ended up getting into a few law schools, and then I toured LSU. Me and my mom went and toured LSU Law, fell in love with it immediately, and was like, this is perfect. Like, this is great. Everyone's great. Everyone's so nice. I'm only 2 hours away from home. And Mom's like, yeah, I love this. Like, my baby's growing up. Like, this is so sad. And then she started crying, but she was like, this is going to be so
Aw.
great for you. Like, I'm so excited. And then I ended up getting into MC. Me and my sister-in-law drove to Jackson, and we went and toured it. And there was just something about it. I remember walking through the doors, and we finished the tour, and I went outside. We got in the car, and we went to go eat lunch. And my sister-in-law was like, so how do you feel? Like, do you like it? Do you think this is somewhere you could see yourself? And I remember my exact words being, I don't want to be here, but I know this is where I'm going to go. And she
Really?
was like, what? And I was like, there's just this gut feeling that was like, I can see myself sitting at this desk. I can see myself going to this professor's class, but I don't want that. But I
Mm-hmm.
know that that's the answer. And she was like, girl, then why are you going to go?
Yeah.
And it just all ended up working out. I ended up accepting. I started in the fall of 22, and I met some amazing people. I have some of the best friends that I could have ever asked for.
Yeah.
I think my journey was really just something that needed to happen because, I mean, there were experiences that I don't think I would have ever had if I'd gone to LSU or Loyola. So, yeah, I didn't pick it because I was like, that's where I want to be. And Jackson is beautiful. And I love the city. I hate the city.
I
I hate the
actually hate it
city.
here. Yeah.
And Jackson's not really great. It's got its perks, I guess, but I was like, this is no. And yeah, and then I did my thing and it all just worked out for the best, I guess.
Yeah. That is so funny. Because I would be like, I hear you, but I'm going where I want to go. I'd be like, I gotta go. Like, we're not playing.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
I
so
would have
funny.
loved to have done that, but I'm pretty sure something would have happened and him to be like, fail. That's
Oh,
why.
no.
I'm just kidding. He probably wouldn't have done that, but something would have happened and it would have been like, okay, get your butt back to Jackson. That's where you need to go.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
He's
what's so
funny.
funny is you went back to Louisiana, right? Like,
Yes.
you
So
always
also,
wanted to go back there, right?
no, I didn't. And that's the crazy part. Like, I think it's so funny because I'm telling you all of this now and
Mm-hmm.
I was just all over the place in a way. I did not want to go back to Louisiana. I did not want to take the Louisiana bar. I wanted to move to Tennessee. I visited Tennessee one time, one summer, and was like, this is
This
it.
is it.
This is beautiful. This is stunning. This is where I'm meant to be. I'm gonna find my future husband here. Like,
Yeah.
Dollywood's over there. I could just go to Dollywood when I want to. I was 18, girl. Like, what was I
You said,
thinking? I don't know. And so I ended up going to MC, and my first year, you don't take Louisiana classes. So the first year, you're required to take um Civ Pro, Civ Pro 1, Torts 1, Contracts 1, Crim Law, not property, research and writing, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, the 6. And then the second year you do the second version of that class, the second half, and then Crim Law was replaced with property.
Mhm.
And so I had to do all the common law, basically federal, most federal but not federal classes. And then until you hit your 2L year, that's when you could go into the civil law certificate track, which is where you start taking Louisiana classes. Um
Is this
and
specific to that college? Like the
yet
Louisiana law? Okay, I was going to say, because I don't think we
it
had
is
that at my school.
yes. So Mississippi College School of Law is the only school outside of Louisiana that offers Louisiana classes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it really was meant to be.
Yeah, it really was. And so, which is so crazy. I don't really know how that happened, like how they got the ability to
Yeah.
do that. But our professors that are teaching Louisiana law went to Louisiana's law schools and
Hmm.
they have their barred in Louisiana. So I guess it just all kind of worked out. The first time I ever heard of MC law, I was a intern for the district attorney's office in Grant, which is where I grew up. And one of the ADAs, he was the only ADA that did not go to LSU law school. And they always made fun of him for it. And I was like,
Oh, no.
Mr. Where did you go to law school if you didn't go to LSU? Did you go to Loyola or did you go to Tulane? And he was like, no, I went to MC. And I was like, what the hell is MC? And he was like, oh, it's a school in Jackson. I said, you're telling me you went to a school in Jackson and you took the Louisiana bar? We have a different, completely, a whole different set of laws. And he was like, well, I took the Louisiana program. I was like, oh, that's a thing? And so he kind of just explained it, and that's how it got put on my radar, and that's why I applied.
Yeah.
Was because he was like, it's a great school. I loved it. Small, whatever. You don't have to be in a huge class of people. Um, but
How
yeah,
small
so
was it?
my class started out with 132 people.
Hmm.
And then by the time we graduated, I think we ended up at 90
Oh,
something.
wow. It's a lot less.
Yeah, I would have to check that. Don't quote me on that. I think it's around that number. But yeah, we started out with a lot, and the first year, a lot of people failed out or dropped out, And then we had some transfers. So I think we had about like 2 or 3 people that transferred schools to Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think originally one of them, like, she applied and she didn't get in, and so she went to MC Law, and then she transferred. I don't know why she did that because Ole Miss's ratings are horrendous, but
Yeah.
whatever. Anyways, yeah, so I didn't start the Louisiana program until my second year, and I hadn't even decided that I was gonna do it until I started doing, on-campus interviews.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up getting 3 interviews. One was for the Mississippi Attorney General's office. The other one was for the adoption. They had, what is it called? Mississippi Children Advocacy something. They do adoption work. And so I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I would love to work there. That would be so great. That's right up my alley. And then I got an interview for the big firm back home. And I was like, oh, okay. So I ended up going and interviewing for the Attorney General's office. Personally, I thought my interview was great. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I went in there and I'm not so type A person. I had gone through their website and just tried to figure out, like, who could possibly be interviewing me and, like, what section I wanted to work in. I memorized their names. I had, like, things about them that I had found through, like, the internet, just being an FBI like,
Yeah.
detective and trying to find things to talk about in case they were like, "So what do you" like, just random things. And to stand out because, you don't wanna be just, like, a random interviewee and they're like, "Yeah, she sucks. Throw her in the trash." Um, but needless to say, I walked in, the first thing was all of my interviewers were women, and 2 of them were in the section I wanted, and they immediately complimented me on my outfit, and they were like, "Where did you get your outfit from?" And I was, like, locked and loaded, and it was great, and, like, at the end, they were like, "Well, you're from Louisiana. Are you planning to go back?" And unfortunately for me, I'm not good at lying at all.
Yeah.
Um, if I feel something, I'm gonna say it, and if I don't say it, it's gonna show on my face. And so I was like, "Well, I don't know, actually. All my family's from Louisiana. All my connections are in Louisiana, but that's not really where I wanna go." And they were like, "Well, do you have any plans to stay in Mississippi?" And I was like, "I mean, I've only been here a year. Like, I don't really know."
Yeah.
And so at the end, it kinda came out to be that all the people they ended up hiring were people from Mississippi that were going to stay in Mississippi. And, when I asked them, like, why did y'all not think that I was a great fit after the interview felt like it was great? They're like, well, you weren't going to stay and we didn't want to put in the time and effort to basically train you and, give you all these resources if we didn't think that you were going to stay and we could hire you, which was
Yeah.
valid.
Yeah.
And so then I got the interview with the firm back home, which is where I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not an on-campus interview. It wasn't even a formal interview. I got a phone call from the hiring partner, and it was, I kid you not, I had just popped popcorn to sit on my couch and watch a movie with a friend, and I got a call, and it's in bold letters, this guy, and um, I'm like, how in the hell does he have my phone number? And so I answered the phone. It's 9:00 at night. Like, it's not normal working hours. And I was like,
Yeah.
hello. And he was like, hey. And he starts just like asking all these like random questions about, my life, whatever. No legal question was asked. It
Mm-hmm.
lasted maybe 15 minutes. And he was like, yeah, so I want to offer you a job to come clerk for the summer. Do you want to do that? And I was like, and that's exactly how he sounds. That's exactly how he is. He's like, yeah, so I want
Yeah.
to offer you a job. Are you cool with that? And I was like, I had to mute myself and was like, are we kidding? Like, what is this? So I was like, yeah, absolutely. Great. He was like, I'm sending you the paperwork through email tomorrow. I was like, great. So I ended up going and clerking there for, the whole summer. They told me we would love you to come back for Christmas break. I came back Christmas break, got my job offer, my 2L year Christmas break, which is extremely early.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
came back and was like, I already have a job, guys. Like, this is great.
Yeah,
And it was a firm that is very well known in my area. Like, even though I'm from Grant and Alexandria is not that big, it was like the big firm that if you went, like, if you got there, that meant like you made it in a way.
yeah.
And so I was really excited. I was very proud of myself because when he sat me down and offered the job, I thought I was getting fired
Oh, no. You're like,
because
"Wait."
he my last day of my clerkship that winter break, he called me and said, "I need you to meet me at the coffee shop in Grant. Now turn in your keys and head
Oh?
this way." And I like had a full 70. I had a full breakdown. I was like, "I'm getting fired. Like, they
Yeah,
hate me. They hate my work. They think I'm awful." Um, and mind you, I had a partner that was in the firm that I didn't really work with who had made a comment that just, like, really stuck with me, and that's why I was like, "Okay, I'm not getting hired. They're gonna fire me. They're gonna say we don't want you back."
yeah.
And I had gone in to turn my keys, and Miss Susie, who's, like, our office, like, manager or whatever, she was like, "Oh my gosh, it's your last day. Are you excited?" And I was like, "I'm getting fired. No, I'm not excited."
What do you
And
mean? Yeah.
what do you mean? And
Yeah,
so
it's the
she
worst day
basically was
ever.
just like she was like, "Why do you think that?" And I was like, "He's making me go meet him in Grant Paris at the coffee shop." Like, and he told me to turn in my keys. My day's not even over yet. And she was like, I don't like, she was trying not to tell me, but she was like,
Yeah,
"You just need to calm down. It's going to be fine." So I
yeah.
ended up like going to tell my partners that I was working for, like, bye. And, um,
Like, bye
Mr.
forever,
Brad,
guys.
yeah, I was like, "Bye forever. I'm never seeing you again. My ass is grass. I
Yeah.
loved it. It was a great time." And I had gone into Mr. Brad's office and I was like, like, I just couldn't hold it in. And the tears just like sprang forward because I was just like, scared that I was going to lose an opportunity that I thought I had worked really hard at.
Mhm.
And he was like, "Girl, dry that shit up. Dry it up."
Yeah.
And I was
Get
like,
out of here.
"What? Like, what do you mean?" And he was like, "What does Trevor do for like the firm?" And I was like, "Dude, he's a partner. He's an attorney. Like, what kind of questions are these?" He was like, "What is his job title, Maggie?" And I was like, "Oh, he's the hiring and firing partner. He's gonna fire me." And he was like, "Baby, he's gonna offer you a job." And he was like, "I wanted to do it, and he told me I couldn't. He had to do it because he's he's the hiring partner. But he's gonna offer you a job. We talked about it at the board meeting. The board is in agreement. We want to hire you." Waterworks were just like, I'm not a crier either, but I was just
Yeah.
so like wound up. And, it all went well. I went to the coffee shop. He talked about his kids and he talked about random stuff. And then at the end, there was no talk about my job. It was just talk about his kids and everything else that was going on at my house. And then he was like, "Okay, so we want to offer you a job. How does that sound?" And then he fist bumped me and he said, "Okay, I have to go. I got to go pick up my kids from school." And then he left. I was like, "This isn't real. This is a prank."
I would have been
So
like, "Why did you make me drive all the way over here?"
and
This
it
could have
was
been an
like crazy.
email.
We were both from Grant, so I was like, "Oh, he's gonna fire me, but he doesn't want to embarrass me and make me like do it in the firm. So he's gonna take
Mhm.
me back to where I'm from, so that like after he fires me, I could just go home."
Yeah.
Um, that sounded logical to me,
Yeah.
but clearly that was not what had happened. And then I got like calls from all the partners, and they were like, "We're so excited to have you come, blah 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 blah." And when I like talked to Gene, which is the partner, I like him and Brad are the partner group that I will work under. Gene was like, "Do you remember the day that you showed up into my office and said that you wanted a job, and if you got offered the job, the only reason you would take it is if you could work with me?" He's like, "That took some real guts." And I don't know where you grew a pair from, but I have never in my life seen any person come in and, like, just lay out what they wanted. And I remember that day, I was, like, working on this big case for him that was a big civil, like, litigation matter.
Mhm.
And it was my first big project with him, and I was so excited. But I was so terribly nervous because I'm like, I'm gonna mess it up. Like, I'm gonna do it wrong. Um, I
Yeah.
had turned it in, and I had heard everyone talking about, like, well, like, the only way you really get an offer is, like, if you get really close with the partner likes your work, the partner likes you. Because, like, they're gonna pick people that they want in their group, and also, like, do you like the area of laws they do? And I had found out that he was looking for an associate. And he did not he had never had an associate because, like, he had been a partner for a few years, but he had never had enough work to be like, I need someone to, like, help with this workload.
Yeah.
And I had found out that he was talking to hiring somebody. And
Your detective work is crazy.
I just I like I knew so much about so many things that they did not realize I knew just
Yeah.
because of, like, I was just talking. Like, I was like, I wanna know all the I wanna know everything about every person, like, what are their likes, what are their dislikes. Oh, and the paralegals and secretaries, they know everything.
Oh,
And if
yeah.
you become friends with them, you will have the best relationship, you will never have to worry about anything. Treat your paralegals and secretaries like kings and queens because they are. They
Yeah.
keep the firm together. Um But anyways, I found out and I was like, "Oh, heck no." Like, he can't hire her because he has to hire me. And I I turned
It's
in
so funny.
and the problem was, like, she was a 3L, so she was, like, about to graduate. So it would have made more sense for him to hire her, but she had never
Yeah.
worked there. She had never worked there. She just, like, applied. I was like, "My work's way better." Like, come on.
Yeah.
So I ended up knocking on his door, turning in my work, and, I was like, "Do you have a minute? Can I talk to you?" I was so nervous. Like, I needed a shot of alcohol. I walked in and I sat down and he was like, "Yeah, what's up?" And I was like, "So listen, I heard you're looking for an associate." And he started grinning. He was like, "Yeah." I said, "And I know you're interviewing people, but I need you to stop interviewing people because I want to be your associate." And he was like, "What?" And I said, "I want to work here, but I only want to work here if I can work with you. And I want to do litigation. I want to go to court. I want to be in court all the time. I'm willing to learn anything you want me to learn. I'm willing to work as hard as I need to work. You just need to not hire anyone else. I need you to hire me and just wait 2 years, like, basically." And he was like,
That's so funny.
never seen a man that stunned. And he just sat there and he looked at me and he was like, "Is there anything else you want to say?" And I was like, I have done work for other partners in this firm. I think they're great, but I don't want an offer if it's not to work with you." And he was like, "Okay then. Thank you so much for telling me." And I was like, "Okay, that's it." And I got up and I walked out. And
Okay, bye.
and I went to my desk and we just never talked about it again. And then, like, the next week was my last week and then I got offered the job and he called me. He was like the one that personally called me after and was like,
Mhm.
"You were already someone we were looking at, but the second you walked into the office and basically demanded the job," he was like, "there was no question." And that's not, like, if I could give
Yeah.
any advice is to just say, go for what you want. Don't be afraid. Like, even though I was about to crap my pants in that moment, like,
Mhm.
you'll never know how much respect you can gain, but also just, like, connections you can gain by just taking the chance.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so then I got that offer, and then, things happened, and I ended up at a federal clerkship.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I love how you're like, "Just give me 2 years," but it sounds like he had to give you 3
Yeah,
because,
So
Can you explain to the listeners, just in case they don't know, what a clerkship is, how you landed there? And I do want the listeners to know you don't just get a clerkship. It's really competitive.
I kind of
So
did though.
I know, because you're that girl, and I love that. So
No, um, to be fair, I have no idea what the actual process of getting a federal clerkship is like because I did not do it.
I love that. Yes.
I just want to let everyone know that if you want questions on like the application process, I am unfortunately not the girl to ask because I did not apply.
That's so funny. I cannot wait to hear what Harley has to say about that. And for the listeners, Harley, my co-host on Constitutional Achievement, is actually Maggie's coworker. And she did apply for the clerkship, so that's going to be really fun to hear.
Um, yeah, so a federal clerkship is extremely competitive, as you said. Like, it is one of the highest achievements that you can get basically out of law school.
Hmm.
Um, and it depends because, like, Harley works for a magistrate judge, which everyone's going to call me out for this when they listen to what I'm about to say, but I had no idea what a magistrate judge was for the longest time. I did not know the difference between a district judge, a magistrate judge, like that. I just didn't really know what a magistrate judge did until I got to law school. But Harley applied. I don't know if she applied for a district judge position, but I know she applied for obviously a magistrate judge position. Um, but you have to basically, I know you have to send in your resume, you have to send in a writing sample, um, a letter basically detailing like who you are, why you want to work there, what your interest is, da 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 da. Um, However, the reason they're so competitive is because basically once you have a federal clerkship, you're kind of, I don't want to say guaranteed, but you're more likely to get any kind of position you want after that in any firm. Like, it is very highly sought after because it gives your firm, I don't want to just say badge of honor, but it gives your firm an insight to judges that they will go and work in front of and present in front of. And for me, my firm obviously works within the Western District of Louisiana, so it was like kind of a no-brainer for them. But yeah, so I don't really know how the application part works, but I can
How
tell
did you
you
get
that
it? Yeah.
I can tell you how I got it. And
Okay.
again, like, I know I've talked about God. I'm a very religious person. And honestly, just with everything that's happened in my life, like, there's just no way I couldn't be because I can't explain half of the crap that's happened over the course of 25 years. Like, I just can't. It's just been blessing after blessing. But my judge was one of my professors. He's an adjunct professor for Mississippi College. And he
You're
taught me.
joking.
I'm not. Um, we had several adjunct teachers that were judges, federal judges, and like Court of Appeals judges at MC, which I think is really cool.
Hmm.
And they also worked very like immersed in our moot court program,
Hmm.
um, which is a whole nother conversation if we get to that or we want to talk about moot court. But um, basically, he taught my sales and leases class and my security devices class for Louisiana. And he only did those classes in the spring. So for MC Law, one of their flaws, I will say, I did love the school. I do think the school's great. But one of the flaws was that they didn't really advocate for Louisiana students as much because our
Hmm.
classes were only offered once every other year.
Oh,
So
wow.
when they were available, you had to take them. So if you say in the fall, security device, let's say that's not what happened, but let's say persons and family, and uh, security devices and matrimonial regimes were all offered this fall. They're not going to be offered until 2 years later. So you have to take them as they are. And then you don't really get to choose your other classes because you're kind of at a do I take these classes because I know they're going to be on the bar, or do I just say, screw it, I'll study for the bar on those classes and I'll just take this fun class like negotiations or something. So we kind of got like the bad end of the deal in a way, because I didn't get to take a lot of other cool classes. I had to strictly stay within my Louisiana program.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, he taught 2 of those classes, my 2L spring and then my 3L spring. And he taught him over Zoom. So I had not met him in person, like, at all until my summer or Christmas break. I don't remember when Judge Jerry Edwards got inducted. Is it inducted? When you become a federal judge? And I'm blanking. My brain is fog after today. But needless to say, I never met him until that moment, and I had gone with one of the partners from my firm,
Mm-hmm.
and he just was there because he's an Article 3 judge, and he's in the Western District, so every judge was present.
Mm-hmm.
And he came up after, and he saw me, and he said my name out loud, and he came and hugged me, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, like, it's so nice to meet you in person. Like, how are you? What are you doing here? Blah, 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 blah." And my partner was just standing there, and he was like, "How in the hell do you know each other? Like,
Mm-hmm.
how do you know a federal judge? A federal judge just came up and hugged you." And I'm sitting
Yeah.
here thinking, like, not really that big of a deal. Like, he's just a person. He's my professor. And so then I had to kind of explain it. But
Yeah.
needless to say, the 2L year when I got my offer from my firm, I had just gotten my offer. The January 19th was when we started school back, and so I was in his sales and leases class, and he had already like met me, whatever, and he jokingly said, after like the 4th class or whatever, he was like, "Maggie, I think you should come work for me." And I was like, haha, so funny. No, thank you. I have a job.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a joke. Well, then it got to summer of that year, and I was working at the firm, and I saw him again, and he was like, "Maggie, I think you would do really well working for me. Like, I want you to come work for me." And I told him no.
Yeah. Which is crazy,
I
but
was
yeah.
like, no, I don't want to do that. I have a job. I can't not go to this job. I've already accepted it. Da da da
Yeah.
da. Still thought it was like a joke. I really didn't think he was being serious. Well, then he came and judged a moot court competition that was like for the 2Ls to make the board. And I got him to come judge because he was an unbiased person. Like, nobody knew who he was. And he's a federal judge. So I was like, this is perfect. Well, he
Yeah.
came into town, and he came and judged, and we went to dinner. And it was me, him, and my friend Abby. Because he was like, "Oh, you talk about Abby all the time. Like, that would be really cool if we could go to dinner. Do you think Abby would want to join?" And I went to Abby, and Abby was like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, like, that would be great." So he took us to dinner, and it was great, and he offered again. And I was like, "No, like, you're just being silly. It's fine." Well, he got really upset with that answer, and he was like, "Maggie, if you're not at least going to come work for me, can you at least like come extern? Because I think once you extern, you'll really like it and you'll want to work for me."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Judge, that just sounds stupid." And
Oh my god.
um, our moot court advisor at the time, she was also over externships. And so they had known each other because some people from MC had extern with him, because a lot of people that are from Louisiana that go to MC are from Monroe, like the Monroe
Mhm.
Ruston area. And so he literally grabbed her before we had left to go to dinner and was like, "Can Maggie do an externship?" And she was like, "Yeah, does Maggie want to do an externship?" And I was like, "Not really." So she said that, and it kind of like ended up this conversation of, "Okay, Maggie, how many experiential hours do you have? Because you have to have a 6, I think, for MC, like
Mhm.
for your degree." And I had only had 3 from the adoption clinic, so I needed 3 more. And she was like, "Oh, this is perfect. Like, you can get 3 credit hours doing an externship with Judge Jody." And I was like, "Judge, that sounds so stupid, because there's no way I can do that you're 2 hours away, and I'm going to have a schedule, like, with classes. I can't commute to Monroe every day with classes. It's just not down the street where I can just go from one to the other.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'll make it work. We can put you, like, you can do it remotely. We'll send you the stuff. And if you just come like once a week, that'll be fine. And so I was like, okay. It ended up working. I ended up doing it. And I only came in person on Thursdays. And because Fridays we do half days unless we have court. And needless to say, I did the externship. I said I'm going to sign up for the externship. Mind you, I go back to the firm for Christmas break. I worked every summer and Christmas break because I'm a brokey and I needed money and, all the things.
Yeah.
And so I had gone to court. It's so funny. I had gone to court that morning with one of the associates and a partner who was like contesting this trust issue. And I had gotten back from court. We walked into the back door, and I got a call, and I don't know what I was doing, but my phone was just visible. And I got a phone call, and it said U.S. Courts as like the title. And my partner, Gene, we're talking about this like issue, and he sees my phone light up, and it says U.S. Courts, and he goes, Maggie, why the hell is U.S. Courts calling you? I said, oh yeah, it's probably HR. They're calling about my externship with Judge Doty. Never been yanked by my arm so quickly into an office. He was like, what are you talking about? Your externship with Judge Doty? And I said, yeah, I have an externship. He basically made me do it, and now I'm doing it. So then I had to get like this whole conversation because then the associate had to pipe in and was like, yeah, he kind of offered her a job 3 times and she said no.
Narc. No, I'm kidding.
I was like, you're an asshole for that. Why would you do that to me? So then that led to the other partner finding out, Mr. Brad, and I got yanked into his office real quick. And I had never thought I was going to have this conversation. And he was like, excuse my language, but he was like, you're a fucking idiot. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, what did I do? And he was like, you were offered a job by a federal district judge and you said no. And I said, well, technically I said no 3 times. But to be fair, I thought it was a joke. He was like, clearly it's not a joke.
Yeah.
And so, after I had these conversations, and his was the second conversation, he made me get out my phone because I had Judge Doty's number. He made me get out my phone, put it on speaker, called Judge, and he told Judge that he was the one on the phone and that I actually was stupid and I didn't mean to say no, that I really meant to say yes, and that I would love to accept the position. The clerk. And Judge was like, oh my gosh, I think she would be so great. Like, are y'all okay with that? Whatever. And they were like, yeah, we'll work it out. Well, the bad news was, at the time, was because I had said no so many times, he had filled the position. And so he was like, well, I have a position for the next year. So she would have to go to your firm, then leave your firm, come to me, and then go back. And that just sounded like chaos. And I was like, Judge, I don't want to do that. And the firm was like, we've never really had to like do that before. So like, I don't think we can do that. Well, then they had a board meeting about it. Cause I was like, it's not worth it. Like, it's not, I don't need to do that. Well, the board thought otherwise. And they were like, we'll make an exception. She can come here, go there, come back. It'll be fine. We'll also count it as a year towards her partnership track.
Oh, awesome.
So, yeah. And so I was like, okay, that just sounds kind of messy. Like, I don't love that. But, if it's meant to be, it'll be, and we'll work it out. Well, then final season comes, my 3L year, and spring. And I'm taking, I don't even know what final I was taking, but I was taking the final. And obviously your phones are off and they're put away, whatever. Well, I get out of the class or get out of the final, and I have a missed call from Judge Doty.
Mhm.
And obviously, I'm like going to call him back. Well, I get a text message from him, and he's like, "Hey, Maggie, like, great news. My JA is retiring. And since I'm the chief judge, I can replace her with another clerk. So do you want to do this year instead?"
Heck yeah.
And I was like, like, what? So I'm like, "Hey, let me talk to the firm first because, like, I just feel like we've
Yeah.
yanked my firm around a little bit and I don't really like that.
Yeah.
So can I talk to them before I say yes?" He was like,
Yeah.
"Absolutely." So I called my partner. He didn't answer. So I texted and I was like, "Hey, this is the situation. I'm kind of in finals mode, but I just needed y'all to know, like, this is a change in circumstance. Do you think that this would be okay, or do you just want to keep the original, like, agreement?" And they're like,
Mhm.
"Oh, no, like, if you can go there and just come straight here and we don't have to, like, leave and then there's conflicts, do that." Well, I had told Judge, I was like, "I don't know. Like, this just seems, I never wanted this. I didn't
Yeah.
apply for it. Um, if you asked me then, if you asked me now, I will 100% stand 10 toes down and tell you that I'm not the best person for the job." And not in, like, a condescending way, just, I
Yeah.
was never the best writer, and
Mhm.
writing was something I was a great writer all the way up until law school, and I realized that legal writing was such a different
Mhm.
spectrum of writing, and I struggled a lot with it, and I couldn't figure out how to do it correctly, and in my writing classes, I could only get, the highest I could get was a B plus, and there was just this voice was like, "You're not good enough." Like, a federal
Yeah.
clerkship is so hard to get that even people in, like, number 1 positions from schools that are great don't even get them. Like, they interview and they
Yeah.
don't get them. And we had a lot of people who were applying for federal clerkships that did not get offers, did not get the job, who, in my opinion, were way more suited to that role than I would ever be. And
Yeah.
so, um, I just felt like as an imposter to the whole situation. And I think that really, like, Harley could probably tell you, it really weighed heavily on me the first few months, at least, like, the fall, because
Mhm.
I constantly was comparing myself to my other clerks. And when they
Mhm.
found out that I didn't apply and I didn't have an interview, it made me feel like I didn't deserve it. I didn't earn it. And for some reason, this, like, part in my head was like, "Oh, the judge just likes you because you know you're his student." Like, I mean, like, I got A's in both of his classes. I made best paper in his class. But I was just like, I don't have the qualifications. Like, my resume does not stand against these other 2 people, and I don't even know what theirs says. Like, I just knew my one co-clerk was from Tulane, my other co-clerk was from, Notre Dame, and then Harley, and Harley's freaking amazing. So I was like,
Mhm.
I'm literally just like the ratty stepchild that they dragged in by her hair, and I'm in the mud in the closet. Like, it just didn't really
Yeah.
add up to me. And so, I ended up just taking it as it was. And I had a few people kind of make some comments that were like, "Why do you deserve this? Like, why do you get this job?" And no one outright said it to me, but you could tell when I came back, and after I had accepted it, we had this, like, alumni luncheon, and I was the
Mhm.
external vice chair for our moot court board. And so I spoke pretty much every one that we had, but like 2 I spoke at, and just gave a rundown about what was going on, how our teams were doing. And my dean and my associate dean found out that I had gotten the clerkship because my judge had come in and, like, spoke for Civil Law Society, which I was president of. That, like, thing, we had him come and talk about, like, what he looks for in clerks and all the things. And he was like, "Yeah, Maggie's actually going to be my clerk." And that's kind of when everyone found out.
Yeah.
And you could see, like, the kind of, like, different person out, like, they all kind of had different reactions to that. Um,
Mhm.
But my deans were like, "Oh my gosh, that's so great." And my judge was just so funny. And he was like, "Yeah, but she turned me down 3 times until I were like, now she said yes." And so I kind of just got like everyone being like, "You said no 3 times and he still wanted you to be a clerk and now you're clerking, but you didn't apply." Like, that is so unheard of. And it
Yeah.
was just like everyone kept saying it was so unheard of, but I couldn't see it in a positive way. I could only see it as a negative and just kept saying, "I don't deserve this. I didn't earn this. I didn't even want this. Like, this is just kind of something I got thrown into and now I'm like trying to make the best of it."
Mhm.
Um it had gotten so bad, like, once I started, that I went into my judge's office and was like, "Hey, this is how I'm feeling, and I just need some, like, reassurance to know
Mhm.
that I'm doing a good job and that you don't hate me and that you don't think I suck at this job."
Yeah.
And, we had a conversation, and after I had that, it was like, "You know what? It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks because at the end of the day, he's the one that hired me, he's my boss. So
Yeah.
if, my writing isn't what, say my career clerk wants or what she likes, it's not really up to her." Like, not
Yeah.
saying that she ever felt that way, that's not what I'm saying at all. But,
Mhm.
anyone that had an opinion about it, their opinion really didn't matter. It was
Mhm.
really up to him. So,
Mhm.
I had to kind of reroute my way of thinking and take the positive and be like, "You know what? You are an anomaly, but the anomaly is great."
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, I can't tell you anything about how to get one. I can just say be yourself. I think what
Yeah.
really I can say about what I guess made me stand out was I built a relationship with my judge early on, which I know a lot of people don't get that opportunity because they're not going to
Mhm.
be your professor. But I think because I had built such a strong bond, even over Zoom, that he liked me and like got to see my work and got to see the way that I talked in class and presented and did all the things. I think that really made a difference, to show like, "Hey, I really like her personality. I really like the way that she handles situations. I think her writing is good. Even though she didn't apply, like, I wanna take a chance on her." So, that probably will never happen again. I don't know, but
You never know.
again, like, be yourself, take chances. You can never predict what is going to come your way, and
Yeah.
I'm a walking testament of that because I have no clue how any of this was made possible at all.
Maggie, I do want to thank you for coming in and chatting with me. It was so great to hear your story. It was so awesome. All the ups and downs and everything, and you are where you're meant to be, and you're about to go to your big firm. So I am
Yeah, so
so
I
excited
just,
for you.
like I just, like, steered us so off course.
Oh, this is what I love about it.
I had no idea what all I was gonna say on here, but I hope some good comes to it. I hope it touches somebody and they realize they can pretty much do anything that they put their mind to, or I don't know, just take big chances. You never know what can happen. So, thank you for having me.
Yeah. We're going to have you again. This is perfect because everyone's journey is so different. That's my favorite part about doing this is I never know. So I get to find out with the listeners, honestly, what your
Oh, yeah.
story is and like, at least part of it. But I think it's going to really be helpful. And I love that you touched on the imposter syndrome because I feel like that's so real and happens so often. So I think that's going to resonate with a lot of people as well. But Maggie, thank you so much for coming on today, and we will have to have a part two.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
That is it for today's episode. Again, I'm Stephanie Ponzanelli, and this is Legally Ponzanelli. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. Be sure to check out the links in our show notes where you can find our sponsor, Belmonte, this month's guest gift provider, Las Comadres Mail Club, and our Kaplan Bar Prep discount code, Pass with Pons, to save an additional $100 off your bar prep course. You'll also find links to all of our social media platforms. We'd love for you to follow along and be part of our community. And because your girl is currently studying for the bar exam, you'll also find my Amazon wishlist in the show notes. If you'd like to support me with a little study session surprise, that's exactly where you can find it. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions for future guests, email me at LEGALLYPONZanelli@gmail.com. And if you're a law graduate who wants to share your story and journey to becoming an attorney, I would absolutely love to hear from you. Thank you again for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode of Legally Ponzanelli.